Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Kia and thanks for stopping by. So as 2022 comes to a conclusion, I've been sitting here embracing my inner geriatric and sentimental side and just reflecting back on what 22 has been in K-pop. And I think we can hands down undoubtedly say that 2022 has been the year of girl groups. Whether it's just because we've had a lot of big companies putting out new girl groups, or because we've had survival show girl group debuts, or maybe it's also because of the girls themselves that were debuting in the groups, such as the IZ*ONE members. Undoubtedly, there's been a lot of focus on girl groups this year, and as the year wraps up with all these end of the year award performances, you can definitely say that all eyes are on girl groups right now. And next year doesn't seem to be any different, with big companies already announcing plans to debut brand new groups. The only difference, though, is that in comparison to this year, where big companies are putting out girl groups, next year there seems to be an in proportion of boy groups coming out next year, which is interesting. And it's not just the boy groups that are being released next year, but other factors that are making me wonder if next year is going to be a more boy group dominated year. I've seen a few articles and seen it being talked about on social media, so I thought, why not sit down today and throw in my thoughts on why next year may or may not be a boy group year. So if you're interested in listening to this topic, go ahead and stay tuned. I do want to throw out a disclaimer, though, that I am going to mention quite a bit of information that I've got from unreliable sources. So not all the information I'm presenting to you is 100% factual. Some of it is from rumors, some of it is from observations. So basically what I'm trying to say is please do not take my word as the gospel, because if you do, you will surely be disappointed. So with all of that said and done, grab a chair, grab a snack, grab some water because hydration is important, and let's chat. So if discussing why 2023 is going to be a boy group year, I think it's fair to go ahead and have this section first, which basically discusses all the companies that plan on putting out new boy groups next year. Starting from the big four and working our way down, SM has already announced that they're going to be debuting a new NCT unit, which will be NCT Tokyo. There's also been talks about NCT Hollywood debuting next year, but that is still in the rumor mill. Other than NCT, there is plans for a non-NCT boy group to debut, but we're not sure if that's going to be next year. Moving into Hybe, we already know that &TEAM is set to debut in December, but other than that, Zico's label does plan on debuting a new boy group next year. Fellaz is planned to debut a new boy group next year, which, side note, it's very interesting seeing as Daniel from Island is currently under Fellaz, so it'll be interesting to see if he's going to be in the member lineup. And then finally, Hybe does have a pre-debut group called Trainee A, which I'm personally invested in. Go check them out on YouTube. And although there hasn't been any news on a debut for 2023, just like how New Jeans kind of just made their appearance in the middle of this year, a lot of fans are suspecting that Trainee A might debut in a similar fashion, so we'll just have to wait and find out. JYP has already announced that they do plan on releasing multiple boy groups next year. One Korean boy group, which will be featuring the winners of the show Loud. There is plans to debut a new boy group in Japan with the winners of his male version of Niziu. And there's also been talks about him debuting a Chinese boy group. And last but not least, an American boy group. Moving out of the big four, we have KQ Entertainment with their pre-debut group KQ Fellaz 2. Also, another pre-debut group that's coming from a new company is OCJ Newbies, which there's not much known on this company, seeing as they are a Chinese-based company, and this seems to be their first step into the K-pop industry. But a few members of the pre-debut lineup were contestants on previous seasons of Produce, so it will be interesting to see what this group's going to look like. And then moving on down into our ever-turning rumor mill, we have rumors of Blackberry Creative releasing a male version of Luna, which after all that's going on with Luna, I honestly don't know. And now the company might be broke. So we'll keep that in the rumor mill. And there's also talks of RBW debuting a new boy group. But seeing as there's possibilities of one of their trainees being on Boyz Planet, I don't know if that's actually going to happen. So we'll also keep that one in the rumor mill. And last but not least, fingers crossed this is seriously a rumor. Seems like there's plans for Cube to be debuting a new boy group, which, seeing as how Lightsum's currently doing, I'm also hoping this one just stays in the rumor mill. Our Cube, focus on the groups you have first, and then you can add more. Let's focus on quality, not quantity. So altogether, that is a total of over 10 boy groups that are planned to debut next year, which obviously there are more that I didn't see or that companies just haven't announced yet. But to say you're already going to have over 10 boy groups debuting, that's a lot. I definitely think it's fair to say that in terms of debuting groups, boy groups are probably going to outnumber the girl groups debuting next year. But then again, we're currently in the fourth gen of K-pop where groups are being released more often than most people probably change their socks. So who knows? We might have a long loaded list of girl groups debuting next year also. But we'll have to see. Moving on to reason number 2, next year might be a boy group focus year. We have a whole bunch of male seasons of survival shows. First one that I've already mentioned is the male version of Niziu, which, yes, this is primarily a J-pop group, but JYP has always made it known that he would love to make a J-pop group that is active in Korea. So I know plans were for Niziu to debut in Korea. Don't actually know whatever happened with those plans, but maybe with this new boy group, we will see them debuting in Korea and being active in both countries. Also, there's plans for a new show called Peak Time, which unlike all the other survival shows on this list, this show is actually solely for Nugu boy groups who are already active in the industry. So I definitely think that's going to bring a lot more focus to boy groups that are already currently active in the industry, which is a good thing. And from the sounds of it, it seems like it might be a nice cross between Kingdom, the show, and the unit, which was a great attempt at reviving careers, but sadly just fell short. Also, it's already been announced that there will be a male season of the show My Teen Girl, which has been named Boy Fantasy, which will be airing next year. Another Japanese survival show that may be happening next year is Produce 101 Japan Season 3. So it hasn't been announced yet, but seeing as Produce Japan does air every 2 years, and the last season was in 21, 23 should be about the time that we expect to see a new season. And seeing as JO1 and I, the two groups made from previous seasons, are very successful on the Japanese market, it's fair to say that Mnet has a lot of reasons to continue making more seasons of the show. But seeing all the survival shows we do have this year, I don't know if we're actually going to see a third season of Produce Japan this year, or if it might just get pushed off until next year. So we'll have to see on that one. And then, of course, any other random survival shows that just happen to pop up during the year. I know this year IST had made their own survival show, Origin A or B, which made the boy group ATBO. So maybe we'll see some other shows from other companies, but as of right now, nothing's been announced. Reason 3, which I know, you're probably thinking that this was going to be mentioned in the last section, which in all fairness, it probably should. But seeing as this might have a bigger impact on why next year is going to be a boy group dominated year, I thought it should have its own section. Boyz Planet, which you've already seen the teasers, so we know it's coming February 2023. And just like any good old produce show, we know that whatever group comes from these shows is going to be successful. And undoubtedly, once the show is over, whatever popular contestants remain that did not make the debuting group, we know that there are high chances of them debuting in their own group under their own company. So needless to say, while I did mention 10 plus planned debut groups for next year, we have many, many more planned after the show Boyz Planet ends next year. And I also want to point out with Boyz Planet, I feel like there's going to be an especially higher number of post-show debut groups just because it seems like there's going to be a lot more independent trainees participating in the show. So that means there's a lot more trainees for these companies to scoop up and possibly debut in future boy groups, which, seeing as Boyz Planet is airing earlier on in the year, definitely means there's more than enough time for these post-show boy groups to debut in the later half of the year. Reason 4. So, as we can see from what I said in my previous reasons, there's definitely a big push right now for Korean companies to debut groups in Japan. And it's hard to say if these boy groups created by these Korean companies in Japan are be active solely in Japan, but it seems like these Korean companies are debuting these boy groups in Japan with plans to also debut in Korea. And we honestly won't know more until &TEAM debuts and we see how they are going to be pushed in the market. But I think it's safe to say right now that with such a big focus on the Japanese market right now, I do think it's going to bring a bigger spotlight to already active J-pop groups. And then that also brings to mind, will J-pop groups that are already active be trying to have Korean debuts? And honestly, I don't see why not. If a Korean artist can produce Japanese bops, why can't a J-pop artist create Korean bops? But it will be fun to see just how much the music markets overlap with the expansion of Korean companies into the Japanese music market. And yes, it has been done before. We have seen partnerships with Japanese labels to create J-pop groups, but it'll be interesting to see just how further Korean companies are going to push the boundaries into overlapping the Japanese and Korean music market. And of course, because I have a good quality public school education, I know that with every argument, there needs to be a counter argument. So here I will present why 2023 might not be as much of a boy group year as people are thinking it's going to be. The first reason is that we already have a big lineup of girl groups that are confirmed to debut next year. Some of those girl groups being Limelight, Triple S. There's also been an announcement for YG's Black label to be producing a new girl group. Not saying we're necessarily going to see them next year, but it might happen. And we still got to think, we are less than a year since Girls Planet ended, and so there are still many girl groups debuting featuring contestants of the show. So you'll definitely see a bunch more groups popping up as we go into the new year. But I think the biggest reason that next year might not be so focused on boy group is just because Island 2 has been confirmed to be airing next year around summertime. And with the immense success that Hybe has been having with their girl groups with LE SSERAFIM and NewJeans, I know there's a lot of focus to see on what the company's going to produce next in terms of girl groups. So, in conclusion, I think it's fair to say that at this point in time, it does seem like boy groups are going to be the focus of next year. I know this year we definitely had a lot of focus on girl groups, and I know that people kept commenting that there was a lack of boy group presence this year in terms of K-pop music releases. I do think that since there is going to be more of a focus on boy groups next year, that a lot of girl groups are going to fade to the background unless they keep their presence known. Big groups such as LE SSERAFIM, NewJeans, and IVE, I don't really think are going to have this problem, but more mid-tier and definitely smaller girl groups, and vice versa. If boy groups were underperforming this year, next year is definitely the time they need to step up their game, because with all these new debuting boy groups, and again, a hyper focus on boy groups, there's definitely going to be a lot of competition, and the competition between these groups is definitely going to get a lot more tough, with so many boy groups coming out from so many big labels. And that wraps up today's video. Let me know what your thoughts are on this topic, so I'm honestly curious to know what everybody else is thinking. Do you really think it's going to be a boy group year as I've mentioned, or are we all being dramatic and next year is just going to be a regular year? Let me know what your thoughts are. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you are interested to see more videos like this. Until next time, guys. Bye. 胸の中ぬくもりで残ってるよ心配しないでやがてよ